Let's get the cameras on. We are live, and it's a SkeetNet TV special, and I'm joined by Bonzo on our Monday night soiree at 10 p.m. How are you,
Monday
sir?
night fun. Monday night political fun, where we have a look-see at what's going to happen tomorrow and the day after, and days after that, but predominantly what's going to be happening in the House of Keys and Legislative Council tomorrow. But then there is something, wow, the main, a real main event appointment to listen to on Wednesday, which will be the Public Accounts Committee round 2 on the COVID lockdown and COVID genomics. So that's going to be a humdinger.
It is. It's an afternoon gig, isn't it? It's an afternoon gig, or is it an all-day gig? All day.
It's an all-dayer. Yes, but we'll talk about that a little later. But first, I don't know what you're wanting to emphasise.
Well, let's just have a recap on last week, because we had a lot of fun chatting about the business in the Tynwald Court, and it's great to go through the questions and things, but it's only today I've caught up on Hansard, and there's about 40 odd questions altogether, and when you actually dip into it, and I really don't know how many people bother to get clued up on what was said, because wouldn't it be great to get the Google Analytics figures for how many people are looking at the Tynwald page, because you've just got to have so much time on your hands to acquaint yourself with all the truth and facts that came out from last week's questions.
Oh, quite. And another thing which I think would be very interesting is if we could sort of feed it into one of those word cloud generator things to see which are the most used words. Journey, possibly one of them.
But it is well. I mean, the final, actually, I've just got it up here. There was 56 questions, and the final one, which was in the written section, which was about when will the committee report on the recruitment and appointment of the Auditor General. So, from memory, this was a position that was passed, must be a decade ago, and our political masters haven't got around to appointing the said person, and again it's been delayed. So the selection committee.
We've got an election coming up. We can't be doing with that.
Incredible, isn't it? Incredible. Less scrutiny, the better. But
absolutely. Yeah.
What is catching your eye at the moment?
Well, one of the things that's caught my eye is actually the first question on the order paper tomorrow from Chris Thomas.
Let's have a look.
Now, if you look at that, I'll just scroll that back again. Yeah. How many people brought the COVID-19 virus into the island in March 2020, and what evidence and analysis has he, Chief Minister, used to identify this estimate? Now, that's a bit interesting, because that implies that Chris Thomas is trying to find out who Case Zero was. And if indeed Case Zero can be identified. But also that implies that there should have been a review on such things, and also, of course, a review by now of what happened during the first wave. So, and if that review hasn't taken place, why not? And because that should have then informed what you would do in the second wave and then the third wave, but also what things might lie in the depths of it, what murks and potentially embarrassing things may be there for the government.
Well, I can contribute to this little story. I think you know that I came back with the COVID virus from a skiing trip.
Yeah.
And what a crazy time. I mean, the rampage of the virus from China and then into Europe, and we had this dilemma about going away skiing, and this was round about the 7th of March. But anyway, we went, and there's a few people who came back from Italy. I was in France, came back into the Isle of Man, and whether it was picked up at Gatwick Airport, I don't know, but a few of us fell ill, and we're all isolated and everything. But I know that one person in our house was tested, and I wasn't, and I clearly had it. There's no question, 2 weeks of coughing your guts out, all very unpleasant. But I wasn't actually a statistic, in the numbers, which kind of made you wonder what was going on. But I do remember that we did have a bit of a lost weekend, and it was around about the second week in March where the government went super quiet, and it really was kicking off in Spain and Italy. And of course Boris Johnson was allowing the Cheltenham races to run, and the football matches, and herd immunity.
Yes, the idea of herd immunity, and this also comes to something which was raised at the time, but I'm sure will raise its head again. In why didn't we close the borders when we could have done the week before?
Well,
why did it have to mirror the UK?
Well, there was an article by the Manx Labour Party which featured in the Examiner, so that would have been round about the 17th of March, which was 9 days before the closure of the borders or so, and the Manx Labour Party were quite clearly stating we need to shut the borders now and just see what happens for 2 weeks. Let's just have a bit of a siege and see it all pan out. But unfortunately, we didn't lock the gate soon enough, and the rest is history.
No, because obviously if we'd locked the gate, then media scrutiny would come to us, and then that would reflect badly on UK, who would then be asked, well, if these guys are locking their borders down, why aren't you? And so I think we then got to a situation. Probably we got to a situation which I've outlined before, in that we have as much home rule at any one time as is convenient for the UK to give us. And I dare say there may have been communications which said, don't think about closing the borders.
I think
not until we tell you.
I think so. I think the Tory influence, and it was quite evident at the time. Anyone that was tuning into the news, and this phrase "let it rip," and you had the Cheltenham fiasco, and we kind of followed suit. Yet on the Isle of Man, we had the simplest thing to do. We can use that.
And after the Cheltenham fiasco, what's one of the first things he did? Boris Johnson did. Appoint Dido Harding, woman who headed up the Jockey Club, and was the person who greenlit Cheltenham Festival to go ahead. So probably the author of the mass outbreak. Give her company something. Give her all the contracts to do test and trace, which has managed to disappear 30 billion quid or something without really producing very much at all. Where's it all?
We've got a comment coming.
A comment?
From Alice.
A comment?
Yes. Now let me work my magic with the screen. So, yes, Alice Quayle. The UK didn't ever really lock their actual borders, though, which is quite true, quite correct. I think who knows what is going to happen.
Yes. But even when there were supposed to be travel restrictions, people were still coming through Heathrow Airport quite, in reasonable numbers, and to other international airports in reasonable numbers. So it has been.
Well, I'll ask you something,
relatively
Bonzo.
porous.
I'll ask you something. Yeah. So the likes of, say, New Zealand seem to be light years ahead of us, and countries like South Korea and what have you. What is it? Why are they so different? Are they just more disciplined or what?
Well, New Zealand is, of course, 1,000 miles from anywhere, which kind of helps. It's also it has a few population concentrations, but the rest of it is then quite rural.
Yeah.
To a point where half of it really isn't populated at all. Indeed. So it's a much easier situation to control.
And they seem to be a little bit more sure about what they were doing.
Also, they're more assured as well, because Jacinda Ardern is someone, and I think perhaps because as I remember rightly, the mosque shooting occurred, but just a little before COVID hit, and that showed her capacity to have resolve and go, right, fine, we're bringing in all the guns, that's it. We're not having it. And so when it came to the situation of COVID, it was very much a case of, right, fine, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it, crack on, go.
Yep, as world leaders go, I think she's at top of the Premier League. There's no question about that.
Well, as many. I mean, I've worked for a few women, worked with and for, some pretty high-powered women in my time. And one of the things they do is that they don't mess about. Men in decision-making situations, there's an awful lot of dick swinging. Whereas women see the problem. Right, what do we do? How do we fix it? Or how do we cope with it? Right, fine. Get the stuff together. Go and do it.
I've got a question here from Sam. I'm worried about setting a precedent when it comes to shutting our borders, as so many people hate immigration in general. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it isn't immigration. The shutting of borders for public health reasons is a very well understood, well-known concept, rather than immigration, where we shut the borders to asylum seekers, certain classes, certain categories of people, and say, no, you just can't come in because we don't want you. You might put pressure on you. No, we just don't want you coming in. Whereas with a public health thing, yes, we don't want you coming in because you might be spreading something that will kill us. So, so I think we're quite justified in pulling up the drawbridge and saying, well, no thanks, until we've got it sorted out, you can't come.
And I think coupled with Brexit, it was quite convenient, wasn't it, for the robust immigration policies that the British electorate seemed to be backing all the way, which led to that election victory.
Well, and of course, Priti Patel being Home Secretary. Yeah.
Bless her.
Yes. Putting asylum seekers and various other illegal immigrants in barracks with barbed wire around the top.
Incredible. Right, let's just jump onto the sheet. So
okay, let's go to the papers. Well, just to clarify things, there are 14 questions here for oral answer and only 9 for written. But I think that's because people are realizing that we're late in the day. We're very late in the in the keys now, so really there's not going to be time for officials to go too much into those kind of things. And also, of course, you want to get more oral questions there so you can get your profile raised a bit more for the forthcoming election.
Grandstanding.
To a certain extent, yes. Yeah. Some people more than others. I mean, like Mr. Perkins, for example, who we've found popping up on all sorts of things like Isle of Man television and such. When he's not having to answer about the dreadfulness of the OFT.
Oh dear, that was poor. That was poor. But I did listen to him, and I've heard him say "back of a fag packet," I think 3 times now, in his oratory. Back of a fag packet calculations.
Back of an envelope. Back of a fag packet. Yeah, right. Anyway, here's question number 2: what plans has the Minister for the Treasury to offer tax relief for people who had to work from home during the lockdown and to those who continue to do so? Now, I think what he's getting at here is that, instead of going to work, and using their electricity and using their heating and such like, and coffee, people working at home are having to fund all this themselves. So that's not good. I want some tax relief on that.
Oh dear.
But the thing is about that is also, that is rather divisive, because of course it's just giving relief to the kind of people who can work from home, and those people will be in the higher brackets of income. So it's very much as it could be seen as a bit of a sort of middle-class bribe to middle-class electors.
I think it's one of those, isn't it, where if you're pretty smart and savvy and you have been working at home and you can get your head around, putting figures together. I mean, a lot of people find the tax form an absolute horror fest, don't they? So it's... Yeah,
yes, if they have various... side employments, or if they're self-employed, etc. Yes, it's if you're directly employed, paying ITIP, you can do your tax in a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
But otherwise, when you're kind of looking for, it's T10, isn't it, that these kind of things come under?
Yeah.
What wizard things can I put in my T10 to get some tax back on? I know. Yes. Well, I really ought to be able to claim for my heat and light, etc. when I've been and coffee and anything else. And I needed a new laptop because and then I had to do video conferencing. I needed needed lights, and I needed a camera, and then I had to get a mic stand, and then a pop shield, and blah, 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 blah.
Hang on. I'm just going to write this down. You've come up with some... You saved me a few quid there.
Oh, absolutely. Well, yes, it's equipment which you can claim for. Yeah, of course you can.
Blimey. Yeah. Well, speaking of paying out, it's question number 3, which I love. Is there like a Liverpool gangster connection to this now with the recent mayor madness that's going on?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's like Chicago, isn't it? Chicago political corruption.
But it does. You look at these old films, in black and white. It all went on down the docks, didn't it?
Yeah, and then they talk to the mayor. It's okay. We got somebody in the mayor's office we can talk to. Yeah, I got the mayor in my pocket. Yeah.
We've got these. We've got these saps.
And then they go to the mayor's office. Yes. Then they go to the mayor's office and hi there. Yeah. I need another favor. Here's 50 grand.
Hey, listen to this. We've got these saps over on the Isle of Man.
Yeah.
You won't believe this. It started off at 3 mil, and now it's 60 mil.
Yeah. Is it 60? I think 50 is the latest.
I was just getting carried away.
Quotation, but hey, it could end up being 60 million. The most expensive shed in history.
Oh, God.
I think it's been called, but it's astonishing the lack of control there has been on this. And yes, I think this could be a major scandal.
This is the one, isn't it? Forget the
yeah. It could be a major scandal going into the election.
It's 2 Douglas promenades, isn't it? That's what it is.
Yeah. Well, it's 3. Isn't it?
No, 2. I think
21 million was the original costume. the prom, wasn't it? I think so. Yes, you are right. It's probably more like 2.
Although I did pick up on that one where the Sefton to the Sea Terminal tramway is 1.2 million.
Yes, but more expensive than HS2.
Unbelievable.
Or Crossrail.
Unbelievable. Right, now tell me what long tail has Mr. Bill Shimmons got a sniff of? He's asking questions about airlines and hospitals and patient transfers and what's gone wrong there.
Well, I really don't know about the airlines bit, or indeed regarding patient transfers. There have, of course, been some issues about Manx Care having, its own patient transfer, or should I say, air ambulance type service rather than the patient transfer facility.
You know when you just hit something then?
Yes, I know it.
What is it? 20? It's like something from 20th century. Is it 20th Century Fox? I can't remember.
No. Is it?
Who hits the gong? Who hits the gong on the film?
It's like the Gong Show.
There we go. Yeah, stop it. It's
the spring on my mic stand.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
Okay, so continue.
Yes. So I'm not. Yes, I'm wondering where he's going with this. So it will be interesting to see.
Because of course we have got a pilot in the midst, haven't we, Mr. Is it Paul Quine?
Yes, Captain Quine.
Yes, so who knows? I'm sure he's got an inside track on the runway 26 and what travels upon it.
Indeed, sir. Yes. So we shall see what we shall see. And then we get on to question 6, where Mr. Morehouse, when not engaged in his war on seagulls, asks the Minister for Policy and Reform, in what respect do the call for sites exercise and subsequent procedure for the north and west for inclusion in the forthcoming area plans differ from the process that applied to Castletown? Now, of course, they've issued this new consultation on the north and west area plans. And, of course, we all know what kerfuffle there's been about the eastern area plan. Yeah. I think the short answer to this question would be, well, the north and the west contain 4 Comyn ministers. So, yeah, of course it's going to be different. Duh.
No. Tell me, look, can we just talk about housing? Because I think there was something that came up that the number of houses that were kind of needed has been reduced from, was it 900 to 600 or something? Did that pop up this week?
That popped up and mentioned. But then you have Perkins on Barnum television this weekend on Moulton's little weekend thing. Then he's saying, "Oh no, we really need 90, 100,000 people on the Isle of Man." No, we're not. Where's his ideas? But of course, we have all these developments that are now being almost bought up totally off plan, and essentially being used by various external investors as safe deposit boxes.
I'm going to be pretty awful and negative here. Okay. I could say that this whole thing, the level of houses and planning, is clever people turning the taps off and on. And this is regulating how many people are renting, how many of these investment companies are coming in from abroad, because houses are being sold as investment opportunities, not homes. They're not being sold as homes. It's guaranteeing a return of 5 or 6%. And this is property on the Isle of Man where we've only got so much land. So the likes of these area plans, are they being cleverly masterminded so that it's just being balanced right? Okay. Or maybe I'm just getting too cynical because I'm not seeing any great public housing projects.
No, cynicism is a very healthy thing to have when viewing things that government do. I think there's a certain I think there's a certain credibility to that view. Yeah.
Well, they do call it Comindara, don't they? There we go.
Yes. Well, there we are. Another issue which I would hope sees the light of day in the election that is to come. And then we get to question 8.
Question 8.
The honourable, which Mr. Shimmins asks again, but this time asking Lawrence Skelly, when will he review the minimum wage rates? There's another contentious thing for the election, because I'm not quite sure when they were last reviewed. I think that it would be pre-COVID, I would imagine, and there will be, of course, a lot of pressure from hospitality and the other sectors that are really governed by the minimum wage. A lot of pressure not to raise it.
Well, I think the hospitality sector has had about 7 million quid thrown at it in the last year so far. I think that was one of the answers from last week. But it's something where the chamber, those in the trade, have got quite a lot of influence, haven't they?
Oh yes, but I'm not quite sure what the last study or the latest study is for what a living wage would be on the Isle of Man, but I think we could a good thumb suck on that would be $12.50 an hour.
Yeah.
Whereas the minimum wage at the moment, I think, isn't even £9.
I think it's £8.50 quid or £8.25, something like that.
Yeah.
Which is unmanageable, really.
So that's going to be something that some people are going to be focusing on for votes.
Well, I don't think Bill Shimmins will have a problem getting re-elected myself.
Well, no, he won't. He didn't have a problem getting elected last time.
Well, he was the lead candidate, wasn't he?
Oh yes, by miles. Yeah.
Incredible, isn't it? He got, the guy that came second ends up being chief minister. Amazing.
Yeah. Well, this is the weird system, isn't it, where other people can end up being chief minister who've been censured by the Parliament, who've been cited in a QC-led inquiry for which described various things that they were involved in as practices tantamount to corruption, and then they end up not only running the place but then getting a CBE. Yeah, and
blimey!
But hey, that's just how the system works.
I've got another comment on screen saying hospitality says it's hard to get staff, but I wonder that is partly because of high cost of living and rent.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there was somebody, I think the proprietor of Just Pizza, who was also on the weekend Paul Moulton thing, and he was complaining vociferously about how Manx workers weren't up to it, unlike the Romanians, various other Eastern Europeans, and they just didn't have a work ethic, etc. Bloody blah. The thing about Romanians coming in and working as sort of Gastarbeiter is, of course, because their salary is worth 10 times as much in the home country, with their currency, than it is here. I mean, I remember when the Eastern Eight, the Accession Eight, came into the European Union in, when was it, 2001, And so lots of Poles, in particular, came into the UK. And one of them was a professor of economics from Krakow University. And he went to drive a bus in London. And, of course, the media picked up on it and chatted to him and said, well, you're a professor of economics. Why on earth do you want to sort of take a sabbatical from your professorship and come and drive a London bus? And said, well, because I could do this for 2 years, and then I will have the equivalent of about 25 years worth of my salary in Poland, so I can then get a damn great house, a nice car, and have loads of money in the bank for my pension, and then I can go back to being a professor of economics, because hey, I'm a professor of economics, so I did the maths.
Indeed.
And that's the thing, and it's like with people. When I was growing up on the south coast, a lot of south coast of England, a lot of my friends' fathers were actually working in Saudi Arabia, Oman, and places like that on defence contracts, where they stay there for 6 months, and they get a month's leave to come back, and then they go out for another 6 months. And they were living in that kind of singly condition, living in shared accommodation and stuff like that. But they were coining it tax-free. They were making the kind of money that you would make in UK in sort of 5 or 6 years. They were making it in 1. So
yeah, you've got UK citizens going to places abroad, and it might not suit their lifestyle, and they may not fit in into the local culture and what have you. But the likes of, say, you mentioned about Romanians coming to the UK and to the Isle of Man. Well, they were oppressed by Ceausescu for 30-40 years. It was a military rule, one of the worst aspects.
And Romania is still not, it is still sort of not terribly well economically developed.
They've been the whipping boys for Europe for forever, really. Forever, and the conditions in Romania aren't great, so that when they do come here, or they did come here, to work. It's a completely different ball game, isn't it?
Yes, but also, of course, with Brexit, but before Brexit actually happened, Eastern Europeans were going back because the currency differential just wasn't making it worth their while anymore. So stuff that, go back home. Yeah.
Okay. What's next?
It doesn't pay me to sit around living in a freezing caravan somewhere in East Anglia picking fruit.
No. What we got then?
So we've got other things. There's a couple of things here. Yes. What is the department's policy on the closure of Ardwallen Outdoor Pursuit Centre? And will the Minister for Education, Sports and Culture make a statement? Well, not much they can really say, is there? I mean, an outdoor pursuit centre needs people to go to it, and if everyone's in lockdown, well, they're not going to go to it, are they? So that kind of answers that question. But then going down to Mr. Quine, who we were talking about. To ask the chairman of the Manx Utilities Authority, one Tim Baker, of course. Why the Manx Utility Authority is reducing the feeder tariff for the domestic generation of electricity? Well, this is the sort of tax on having your own solar panels. And I'm sure Tim Baker will give an extremely long, drawn-out explanation of why, so that other people can't. Although it's actually, it's the penultimate question for oral answer, so they've obviously put it on the order paper like that, so that Tim Baker can't actually just stop everyone else having questions answered because he drones on for 20. Last week, yes, I think that the question that he answered, or one question he answered, he took nearly 20 minutes. Ridiculous.
It is. It's the ball being kicked round by the corner flag area, isn't it? It's
oh, yes,
awful
little
to
triangles.
Watch. Yeah,
Yes,
awful
yes,
to
yes.
watch.
Oh, pretty rubbish.
But it is a flipping scandal, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Let's just break this down.
But then going through written answers, there are only a very few.
Oh yeah, let's just go back to this one about the tariff, though. The thing is that Joe Blogs, or Josephine Blogs, does well to even think about affording a solar panel, don't they? There's no grant for it. That would be the obvious thing to do.
Then again, actually, solar panels are becoming much cheaper.
I know, but
although scandalously, actually, it's been found that some of the reasons that solar panels are becoming so much cheaper is because the Chinese have been using slave Uyghur labour to produce them.
Unquestionably, yeah, anything like that. But I mean, we'll just look at it, that the incentives for everyday people to have solar panels on the house, there's nothing. There's nothing evident. If you across an island, there's a numerous amount of schemes in the UK, and we really miss out there. And then the crazy thing about it is that they've increased the charges. Well, they're not paying for the electricity like they were. It's less incentive.
Well, yes. So you need to, and this is something with with climate change and with climate action and the just transition to a greener way of doing things.
It's bonkers. It's bonkers. Well, if you buy an electric car, okay, if you can manage to afford one, and really that is only what. I mean, I think we've only got about 300 or 400 electric cars on the Isle of Man, and the majority of those will be owned by people who are high-end earners, okay, doing their bit, which is great. But the daft thing is that they've managed to plug the car in. It's being charged by a gas-powered turbine power station, which is guzzling fossil fuels.
Well, yes, but there's a reason why we don't have wind farms and tidal power and that sort of thing, and that's because we don't have access to the UK contracts for difference market. So it just isn't economic really for people to build large scale renewable generation because they can't sell the excess into the UK market.
But you must have seen that thing on the social media, I think yesterday or today, where it's a tidal turbine that can cater for 2,000 houses.
Oh yes, the 2 megawatt thing. Yes. I mean, yes, we can certainly have a few of those, but again, I mean, those are pretty expensive bits of kit, and you need the capacity to be able to sell that into the market, because yes, we could have a few of those around the island, but it wouldn't really generate enough. But those tidal turbines are in earlier stages. Really, they're at the stage of wind turbines about 10 years ago. They will be able to, like wind turbines now, they'll be able to produce 10 megawatts. In the future, not just yet.
Well, perhaps when we're attracting our high net worths and our internet gaming companies, we can say, well, part of the deal that when you do come and locate here, you're not to buy houses for rent and investment purposes, but we'll let you buy a tidal, generating electricity, wouldn't we? If we can try and encourage people who've got the cash to come and live here to do that.
Yes, and indeed, Amazon, for example, are Now, I don't know whether this is a distraction from the dreadful working conditions that they put most of their warehouse operatives in, but they are trying to go to a totally green renewables power strategy, and as part of that, they are financing the construction of a wind farm in Scotland. I think they're off the coast of Dundee. I think it's supposed to be, which is going to be a 275 megawatt wind farm.
Well, I'll tell you what,
and that will then produce green electricity for Amazon's operations in the UK.
Well, remember how a few years ago the Isle of Man was famed for having the bestest Marks and Spencers, the busiest Marksies in Great Britain, because of the hunger that the Manx consumers got for it. Well, that will have turned-tailed completely now, and we must be per head Amazon's greatest customer. We must be.
Wouldn't surprise me.
We will be. I'll put money on that now. I'd say that between here, Jersey, and Guernsey, because they haven't got the high streets and what have you. I'd say we must be like Amazon's biggest fans. When you look at the amount of delivery vans that are screaming around. I mean, I think we've had this conversation before where.
Well, yes, I think somebody was mentioning about the volume of or the value every week. And it's, I think, 1.5 million a week. I think is the figure somebody was quoting.
Yeah, it's 100 vans delivering every day, isn't it?
Yeah.
What are they delivering to each house? 20 quid, 30 quid, who knows? And businesses.
Yeah. So, but yes, usually they're sort of. Okay, yeah, the postman can deliver the books. No, but the big boxes, there's going to be sort of 40 quid, 50 quid upwards kind of value.
Well, it's one of those things where you think that the people in charge would have an idea of what is coming in to the island, but maybe not.
Nope, not at all.
Right, what else is catching your eye?
Well, what else is catching my eye is item 4, of course. Where Laurie Hooper is asking leave to introduce a private members bill. And he's asking leave to introduce a bill to make basic banking services free of charge for charities and not-for-profit associations, and permit the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority to determine a mechanism to ensure that registered banks on the island share the burden of providing such services and for connected purposes. Now, if any bill's going to go through the branches, etc., like a dose of salts, that is. Because that is a big issue at the moment, and that has big, obviously, big connotations for the election. So everyone will want to pile in and be associated with doing a good thing like that. So that will be a quickie bill. So essentially a banking amendment, the Banking Act Amendment Bill, I would have thought, it would be. This move, and it will have sort of 6 or 7 clauses on it, and then they'll be able to sort of rush it through in a day or two.
But this move by the local bank that introduced the charges, which is really about charging people for bringing cash into the branch, and I think they're going to charge, is it like £2.50 for every 100 quid or something like that? So that is really shitty for small businesses, for your local shop. It could be your local solo business, that kind of thing. And
well, as we all migrate from cash.
Yes, this is what it's about.
Now and of course, COVID has forced us to migrate from cash rather more quickly, I think, than we're going to otherwise.
This can go two ways. Either you'll have businesses that hang on to their cash and keep it at home, or cash disappears completely, and everyone's like having to operate a sum up machine. Okay, so you're giving away 1% there, 1.5% of everything you do. These electronic payments, they don't come cheap. And then, of course, Big Brother, the Inland Revenue will have an eye on everything that is moving, and I think that's what will happen. Money will just disappear.
Oh yes, because money is becoming far too expensive to. If that sounds a bit weird, but cash is extremely expensive to handle, and is the cost of handling it is actually, often as not, certainly with very small denomination, I think anything under 10p, it's actually more than the value of the cash.
Well, that's right, because a card payment, it's invisible, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That is it. And of course, the counterfeiting.
A card payment also doesn't weigh anything. Whereas all this cash has to be put in bags, has to be then carted around, and then it has to be counted by machines and things. So it's far too much hassle.
And of course, if you do speak to any local amusement operator, like an arcade operator, they are tearing their hair out because the Isle of Man doesn't have the same pound coin as the UK. So if they get the new pinball machine, they've got to mess about with the mechanism that won't take and fruit machines as well. Apparently, it's a right headache if that's your thing.
Well, they'll soon just have the swipe your card on it anyway.
I'll tell you what I did find quite amusing is that the amount of English notes disappeared from the system due to COVID and lockdowns and what have you. And this had quite a dramatic impact on your local drug dealing market, apparently. For shifting the cash back to, could be Liverpool, I don't know, it could be somewhere else, but it did cause a bit of a nuisance with the money laundering problems. And I'll just quickly jump in with a tale that I heard. So remember we had the jet ski incident, which has developed into it sounds like a bleeding gangster film now. What's gone on from there, but we can't talk about it directly because of sub judice and so forth. But I did speak to a contact who has knowledge of an airfield up in the north and how these microlight planes happen to visit that area. And they're not from the Isle of Man. And apparently there's all sorts could be going on there. So,
the thing is about those aircraft is that they would have to submit a flight plan because, of course, we are still what's known as third country.
Yes.
So when you fly a light aircraft into the Isle of Man, you actually have to get special branch clearance.
I'm fully aware of that. But I understand that one of them had a mechanical problem. So anyway, and it had to land. But it could be, just thought of it, if anyone that was unscrupulous, they could quite easily hop over on a calm day and just drop the package off.
The way that things used to come in on the south coast, because I used to live in a small town on the south coast, but it was quite a big yacht harbour. And what would happen was that substances would come in the sea drains on yachts and on the keels. So then they'd anchor up, and then people would go out, their snorkels and whatever, and then get the stuff off the keels or get the stuff out of the sea drains.
There's always a way, isn't there?
Oh yeah.
Because there's such a demand, isn't there? That's the thing.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the thing. I always muse about one of the big drug busts where they said, it's 425,000 pounds worth of gear, has been seized. And then you think, well, even with the inflated prices, that means there's thousands of people using the stuff every weekend.
Oh, yes. Yes. Well, I mean, once upon a time, of course, you could get cocaine at Harrods. Yes, you could get cocaine over the counter at Harrods. It used to fuel the bright young things of the 20s.
Oh. Oh, I thought you were going to tell me. I thought you were going to tell me a little tale, and you're going to confess that there was something going on. Behind the pâté de foie gras.
No. It's not. No, not since the Misuse of Drugs Act 1967, isn't it? Yeah. Not since then. But of course, I think Sherlock Holmes used to. The character bought his cocaine from there because, of course, very famously when he found problems, he got stuck with them and couldn't really solve them. He would then use the 7% solution.
My word, maybe there's a
which he
requirement.
Would inject himself with. Yes, well, indeed, there is the Sherlock Holmes story, the 7% solution.
Maybe before the Public Accounts Committee on Wednesday, there might be a need for that to get out of that.
There might be a need for that. Yes. What with all sorts of things. But going back to the keys, I mean, they've got. We were talking about the sort of legislative congestion that they're trying to actually solve. Which they've had to do with a few additional key sittings and such like. So what are they doing? They're introducing 2 new bills. An animal welfare bill and the Housing Miscellaneous Provisions Amendment Bill.
Oh, hang on. This is Mr. Boot, the animal welfare bill. Oh, that's through the department, though, isn't it?
Oh, dear. Oh, the irony. Oh, yes. I love animals. That's why I shoot them. Yes.
I'm bemused at that one.
Don't you remember the Monty Python thing? No. For older viewers, it was part of a Monty Python sketch of, I love animals, that's why I kill them. Yes, of course. I wonder if this welfare bill will cover partridges, for example.
I think if anyone goes hunting for fun in this day and age, you've got to ask the question, haven't you? You really have.
Yeah.
What kind of person will be doing that on the Isle of Man in this day? If it's for fun, if it's for sport, I just don't get it. I really don't get it.
Well, someone like him, I suppose, is the short answer.
This thing, like shooting grouse and partridges. These helpless birds that have been like chased out of the woods, and they're just brought down. It's incredible.
Well, yes, there's no real sort of shooting involved because you just spray up with a load of shot. Well, yes, you're bound to get one.
This is what we're dealing with, isn't it? Unbelievable.
Absolutely. But then after that, of course, there's another bill. There's the consideration of clauses on the adoption bill, which we thought had sort of gone away. Lots of clauses with amendments.
But that's Claire Barber. So you'd like to think she's going to be tightening up the edges, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but then people will come in with their tuppence worth, and it will take time, and it will then just go on, along with the Enterprise, Aviation and Merchant Shipping Miscellaneous Amendments Bill. But I think that's a bit more, just housekeeping stuff, because that's what we call a necessary bill in the trade, because that I think is needed to align with various bits of UK legislation. Whereas then you have consideration of Legislative Council amendments on 3 bills. The Climate Change Bill. There are quite a lot of amendments from the Legislative Council in that. The Human Tissue and Organ Donation Bill, I don't think quite so much. And the Sky Lanterns and Balloons Prohibition Bill, which again I don't think is going to be that contentious. The Climate Bill, I wonder if perhaps Boot and Coman and others might seek to try and overturn some of the LegCo amendments, because the LegCo put amendments in, to actually give the bill teeth, which, of course, in the Keys they'd spent a lot of time not doing.
Well,
so we will see how that works. But the thing is, can that all be done in a day? Because the next day, There is the Public Accounts Committee.
Dun, dun, dun.
On COVID and related matters. And that, of course, has the Speaker as a member and the Deputy Speaker as a member. So they can't have another day of keys. Because they're in committee.
Or will it go the other way, that the committee gets shelved?
No. No, I think they'll probably go, we'll suspend it and then start again on Thursday.
Oh.
Because it will be a question of, we can't get everyone at the same time. No, I don't see that. And also, I think because the committee themselves are very anxious to crack on with this, because the persons who will be appearing from 10:30 on Wednesday morning, 10:30, Dr. Henrietta Hewitt, Director of Public Health, Cabinet Office, will be talking about not only the steam packet issues, but also the genomics COVID inquiry issues. Now, you wonder, has David Ashford actually put her forward as a human shield to face the committee? And if so, well, I think Chris Robertshaw will have a lot to say about that. It'll be very, very scathing.
Is this Robertshaw's last stand, do you think?
Yes. Yes, so he didn't want to stand last time. I can't see him being persuaded.
No, I mean, is this...
His grand
is this going to be the
yes.
moment? Is this going to be the moment? Is he going to be like, gunslinging from two hips?
Oh, yeah. Both barrels, and give me another gun, please, with both barrels loaded so I can discharge that one as well. Yeah.
Are they going to be wheeling out the robot as... witness number one?
I don't know, maybe, yeah. But say the issue is whether Ashford is trying to push her again as a human shield on this, and whether she is going to be therefore the person who is going to refute everything line by line in the DHSC response, which, given that she isn't DHSC, I think she'd be a bit browned off about being forced to do. But I can imagine that might be the case, and she'll find herself rather tied up on things, because of course she's not seeing the documents that Rachel Glover has submitted, but the committee is, so they'll be asking questions from those, and she'll have to try and come up with an answer that's consistent with what's in front of the committee. So that could be very, very interesting. And then afterwards, of course, after the very interesting things that may have been said, then the dear leader himself will be there answering questions on the steam packet COVID inquiry.
He could end up begging for some Paul Moulton style questions, because there's no question that Robertshaw is a Rottweiler compared to, Moulty.
Yes, it will be. Yes, you will hear him sweating and flustering, and then he will get very shirty.
But Robertshaw won't have had this opportunity, will he? In the Keezer in Tynwald, this is it.
No,
this is where he is.
Oh no, This is very much high noon.
The lamp is switched on and it's shining in his face, isn't it? We're talking about a darkened interview room. We're talking about there's no representation. It's going to be oppressive. It's going to be full on.
And no comment is not a permitted response.
Exactly. Blimey. I wish these things were filmed.
No line of duty going no comment 28 times. No. So that's going to be fun. And then afterwards, Will Greenhow, the Chief Secretary.
The acting Attorney General.
Yes, and acting Attorney General, Chief Secretary of the Cabinet Office, then answering questions on this as well. But of course, they're answering them separately.
Yeah, and that's where the mistake was last week, wasn't it, with Julie Edge, I think.
Yeah.
Because they all got involved and they're answering at once, and it was a mess, wasn't it?
Well, not only that, but one can then sort of look at the other and go, hang on, don't do that. Yeah. Pass notes and all that sort of thing. Whereas if you've got one, then you can just keep hammering at them and nail them down. So Wednesday is going to be a very, very key day for this administration, I think.
A defining moment, possibly. Who knows?
Yes, absolutely.
And I think with the did you see the COVID, the extra case or cases? So there's some unidentifiable sources up in Ramsey. That's interesting.
Yes, yes, that's strange. And one, of course, sadly, is in intensive care. Although I don't know whether it's the question of the fact that this was somebody who had an accident and then was going to be in intensive care in the first place, but then when they tested them as they came in, they found that they had COVID, so that they are a COVID case in ICU, but it's not exactly COVID that's put them in ICU.
I think the temptation will be for a lot of people, if they suspect that they've had it, they'll just crack on and they'll just continue going about the business now, because I think the amount of hassle that it'll induce if they can get through the illness without getting seriously ill. I think people are just going to run with it now. That's the message that's been sent out from above. And,
well, indeed, and that's another thing about the forthcoming election as well. As I think I said elsewhere, this is Comin saying COVID isn't our problem anymore; it's your problem. So it isn't our problem in the run-up to the election. We can't be blamed for it. We did everything all right beforehand, and they've produced a situation whereby most people are vaccinated now, and you all know what to do. So it's all up to you. And if things go pear-shaped, well, we told you so. It's your fault. We gave you the individual choice to do this, and if you feck things up, then that's your problem.
Interesting, because of course I was working on Saturday night, and it was absolutely ding dong in Douglas. It was absolutely packed, and you look at, I don't know, the majority of bus drivers that I saw weren't wearing masks and what have you, and the pubs were full, and yet the hospital and your local surgery, general practice, they're all like gowned up. And masked up, and everything's super clinical. It just befuddles me.
But that's a clinical environment.
Oh, I know. But remember how David Ashford said about baby steps? That was a big thing. It was very figurative, in his delivery. And surely we could have just eased back into normality just by saying, look, let's just have a bit of social distancing for the pubs. Let's use the beer gardens. Let's have only so many people.
Yes, but that doesn't fit the election timetable, and it doesn't fit the narrative that they're trying to project. They want everything all sorted and happy and totally open by Tynwald Day, so that they can then spend a lot of time trotting around in their tails and big hats and whatever, then being interviewed saying how marvellous things are and how now we have a marvellous Tynwald Day just like it used to be, and we've defeated COVID, da-de-da-de-da. And then go on from that in the run-up to the election with people being able to go, oh, well, yes, we're having tourists in now and we're exploiting all that the relative staycation market of the British Isles. We can make money again from all that, and you can go across to UK and see your families and everything. And everything is pretty normal. And it's all because of us. So remember, on September the 26th, vote me.
So we'll see. It'd be interesting to see what the Manx public think about that. Okay, so
all the great Manx public will do the right thing.
What I'd like to ask you now, Bonzo, is the UK political scene, where the Daily Mail has turned tail on Bojo.
Well, of course, but the thing about Bojo is that he really isn't quite Daily Mail material. He's posh. Dead posh. Whereas the Daily Mail is more a Thatcher type paper.
But they've backed him. Don't you think Bojo's served his purpose now? He's caused mayhem. He's ridden the storm. I don't know. If they get rid of him, say, in the next few months, he'll be associated with all this absolute shit and carnage of the last 12 months. They get the new guy in, which is Michael Gove, and he can lead the party through the next election.
Yes, there is that thought. But also, of course, people are too closely associated with him. Gove. Yeah, okay. Gove doesn't like him. Gove ran against him, but he's still, of course, been central and part of everything that's been going on for the past 18 months. So he knows. Everybody else knows. They're all party to it. They're all guilty.
But the Stooges,
culpable,
the Stooges that have been in the circle, Gove has been. He's way down the list, isn't he? Really, he has been pretty quiet.
Well, yeah, but the fact that he's been quiet doesn't make him any less of a stooge.
I know.
He's probably been doing a bit more stooging.
Yeah, it's quite a theatre, though, isn't it? It's quite a theatre at the moment. Really is.
Well, of course, they had the so-called cabinet secretary, Sir Humphrey, appearing before a committee today, who is a rather young and over-promoted person, who used to be private secretary to Prince William, seems to be one of sort of Bojo's mates or Carrie Simmons' mates, I'm not sure. And he was just reading from his brief. And he was useless. That is not what you expect from somebody who's supposed to be the head of the civil service in Great Britain. Absolutely useless.
Well, I think we're approaching the time to shut the gate.
Time to shut the gate and get the Horlicks out. For those who drink Horlicks, does anyone drink Horlicks? Can you even get Horlicks anymore?
Yes, you can. I have some. It's a great drink, quite enjoyable. You've just got to mix it up into a bit of a paste, haven't you, to begin with, and then boil it up in the pan, bit of warm milk and all that.
So what's the difference? What's the difference between Horlicks and Ovaltine?
Horlicks is milk, isn't it? You can't add water to it. I think. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm gonna have to do like a taste test now.
Yes, but for anyone who's under 40, what the hell are you talking about? I don't know. Like people talking about spangles and jamboree bags and such like. So we draw to a close, anticipating all the fun and fury of the next couple of days with Tynwald and its committees. So sleep well.
Before we go, we've got a message. We've got a message. Bedtime for Bonzo says thirst on.
Oh, indeed, yes. Indeed. Curl up in the cat basket.
So could you wish our listeners well in the style of the man? Turn the clock back to, maybe it's the old grey whistle test, maybe it's Radio 1 at 10 o'clock till midnight. Hit it, John.
Well, it's not the old grey whistle test. I never actually did that. I did do Top of the Pops though.
Are you saying he didn't do old grey whistle test?
Yeah. Yes, Peely never did old grey whistle test that I know of.
Right, I'm going to research that.
No,
I'm usually wrong on these things.
I think actually you're thinking of Andy Kershaw, who did the old grey whistle test when it became whistle test and tried to be all 80s and things. But music loving Johnny Play actually found his way into Top of the Pops in the 80s with David Kid Jensen. And he would comment, of course, in his usual dry wit about various people.
Would he still be alive, the Kid Jensen? Would he still be alive?
Oh, Kid Jensen is still alive, yeah.
Yeah. Bruno Brooks, he's still alive?
Bruno Brooks is still around, yeah.
Who else? Mike Reed, is he still alive? No, he's dead.
Yeah,
is he dead? I don't know.
Is
Mike Reed dead?
Well, he certainly wrote a musical that died about Oscar Wilde.
Mike Reed
closed after its opening night. Yes, it was absolutely useless.
Mike Reed, 275 and 285. Are you alive?
Mike Reed, National Radio 1. Oh dear. Right, we'll go back now into our caves and put our cassettes in and listen to our mixtapes.
Oh, love it. Oh well, we'll have it.
So, bye bye, everybody.
Lovely. Good night, Bonds.
Okay.
Awesome.